Welcome back to Watching Beautiful Day. This is Weather HQ. Now, in Iloilo City, leaders and experts from 7 Asian nations gathered for the Asia Regional Large-Scale Marine Protected Area Workshop led by ZSL Philippines with the Blue Nature Alliance and Big Ocean. Here, government officials, scientists, community groups, and NGOs joined forces to face urgent threats: climate change, illegal fishing, habitat loss, and the growing need to protect our seas. Now, at the heart of these efforts is the Philippines, with ZSL driving science-based community-led conservation, including the proposed 150,000 square kilometer Philippine Rise Ocean Conservation Area. Now, today we speak with Edwina Garchitorena, the country director of ZSL Philippines, as she shares the insights on the future of ocean protection, regional collaboration, and the bold steps towards the global 30 by 30 target. Magandang umaga, Ms. Edwina. Welcome to Beautiful Day.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries. All right, so let's start off first with yung hosting na to. This regional workshop hosted in the Philippines. What does that actually mean, one, for yung mga efforts po natin, especially knowing that it is an international effort and that we are working to protect 30% of the oceans by 2030, which does seem like a big goal, Ms. Edwina.
So, with a very small portion of the world's oceans being conserved and protected today, the effort is really to create more networks where we can share information and approaches to protect and conserve our natural heritage, which is also very important to food security.
Mhm.
So it also in relation to the blue economy movement across the world, there's really a need to not only utilize the ocean resources but also conserve these very precious and very productive resources as well.
Mhm. Let's talk about yung mga protected areas here. And right now, there are a significant number of small marine protected areas, but then there's also a call for more large-scale protected areas. And I think it's safe to say, the bigger the better. But at the same time, it would also be a bit strenuous in terms of resources, in terms of what needs to be protected. Let's talk a bit about that, because does having a bigger protected area automatically mean that it will help our oceans and the people who defend them on a more widespread basis?
Well, that's also where science comes in. We need to know what we're protecting and why.
Mm-hmm.
There are parts of the ocean that are significantly productive and that contribute to our global biodiversity and food security. So, yes, bigger is better. And also, we need to bring more science and understanding in to define the areas that are very productive, that are very unique, and that are highly biodiverse, so that these can be conserved.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the work that we're doing is to share information about these areas so that we can protect them better.
Mhm. It's really interesting because it feels like the right areas also have to be chosen when it comes to yung conservation efforts po natin. When we look at the issues that you do face when it comes to protecting especially large areas of the ocean, we have to talk about climate change, we have to talk about illegal fishing, and of course yung weak enforcement ng mga regulations natin both at the local and of course the international level. When you take a look at all of these challenges, just what can organizations like yours and of course having regional workshops like this do to help address those issues and make it less of a problem in the hopes of marine conservation?
So, what we do know is that there are shared areas and shared stocks or shared fish species that we all fish in this region. And understanding those better, understanding how we use them, and understanding how they contribute to the economy is part of this journey of this learning that we're trying to promote these regional workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Only when we understand better through our community knowledge and science how these areas are used and how these resources are used can we begin to protect them better,
Mm-hmm.
and also define the ways that we can protect them, whether it's through enforcement, education, or NGO and community action.
Mm-hmm. Well, this also entails, given what you're mentioning, especially when it comes to the knowledge and, of course, yung economics, that you do involve yung mga coastal communities, especially those which are directly adjacent to these protected ocean areas. Is that right?
Absolutely. We know that communities actually have a better understanding of the fisheries resources that they interact with every day. And a lot of what we're trying to do is to understand how communities use these resources so that we can support them, but also support conservation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, without community engagement and involvement, conservation cannot happen.
Yeah. We talk about the communities, but then a main thrust of your workshop ninyo was stronger policy making, or at least governments trying to speed up the creation of larger scale marine protected areas. When you take a look at the role of government, I know NGOs are trying to do their part, but then just how much weight does government action actually have when it comes to this protection effort?
Well, in the end, of course, the government has to work with communities, NGO and NGOs, in order to conserve these areas. We can't. No one agency or organization can do it alone.
Mm.
And we're very fortunate with the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, which has formed multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral management groups that help them to conserve these fisheries resources and marine biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
So the fishery management uh, bodies or boards, which are composed of municipal, local chief executives, fishers, youth, and NGOs, as well as scientists, really work together to understand our areas better and to figure out how to protect them better.
Yes. We talk about the blue economy, we talk about the protections, and of course, having larger protected areas. I referenced it a while ago, the resources required to actually maintain all of this. When we talk about ocean protection, of course, there is a need for stable funding. Now, when we take a look at what can be done or what options are there any options that your workshop has identified on how we can actually sustain financially these large-scale MPAs should they actually happen?
So what we understand as well, okay, is that the government also does not have sufficient resources to protect the Philippine oceans. And in this past year or two, uh, the peace development assistance is also shrinking. So we're relying as well on philanthropic donors, and the private sector to come in and help us find those sustainable finance solutions that can we can consolidate for long-term uh, support of our oceans. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is that we can't rely on government for all the funding, but we can actually bring our private sector and philanthropy in and establish longer-term,
Solutions.
frameworks and solutions.
Perfect. Ms. Edwina, I wish we had more time, but unfortunately, that's all we have. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, especially from that workshop. And hopefully, we can have you again soon to talk more about ocean conservation. She is the Country Director of ZSL Philippines, Ms. Edwina Garchitorena. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.